Fruity or chocolatey? Sour or sweet? Everybody's got a favorite candy.
The ratio of peanut butter to chocolate in a small Reese's peanut butter cup is incredible.
It's that little sugar hit.
And we're counting down the top 10 with help from a panel of 100 experts. So, how did our pundits choose the best candies ever? Well, just like a quarterback, they analyzed stats, innovation, and legacy.
Snickers. No hesitation.
I think Twix is a superior candy, frankly.
From crunchy and chewy.
If I'm going to a deserted island and I could only bring one candy, I would bring M&Ms.
I love gummy bears. Gummy bears are my go.
To peanutty and poppy.
Who likes the buttered popcorn-flavored jelly bean? Who?
You chew it, pop, pop, pop. You know picking our number one is bound to stir some debate.
Hershey's 100% on the GOAT list. There is no candy industry without Hershey.
The Hershey's bar is it's just boring.
It's one of the world's most popular candy bars.
They're definitely the most popular candy in space.
So, which sweet do you think will be our number one pick?
My top pick was Snickers.
Snickers give you a fistful. Snickers give you a fistful.
It's one of the world's most popular candy bars.
Better brush up on that thing, Ernie.
The Snickers bar grabbed that ring and grabbed that crown, and they've been the king of chocolate bars ever since.
I love Snickers. A Snickers bar has so many layers.
I feel like Twix should be in this spot. Yeah, I think Twix is a superior candy, frankly.
Snickers.
Wow.
No hesitation. Because it gets all the critical ingredients right. You've got salt, you've got sweet, you've got crunch, you've got chew.
Sneaker is the powerhouse here.
Ooh, Snickers really satisfies you. Definitely a goat.
Snickers arrived in 1930. All in all, a great world-class candy bar. And it's brought to you by the Mars Company.
Made with milk chocolate by the people of Mars.
In the Depression era in the US, candy bars are becoming a meal substitute. And a 5-cent bar offers a lot of value to people who can't buy a full meal.
So Frank Mars had created a confection or a dessert that would combine nuts with nougat and caramel, but he really felt like it was missing something, and he realized that that something was chocolate.
There's no other chocolate bar that has whole peanuts, not peanut butter, enrobed in milk chocolate.
It's almost like a pillow filled with all the goods of confection. And it's got this wonderful sort of wispy little pattern on the top, which is very iconic.
Turns out it's also got a ton of sugar, which is really what makes it more like a candy.
As you start to get into the 50s, and certainly by the 60s, if there was a competition to be number one, like having the number one bar, Snickers took the crown. And Snickers has been wearing the crown ever since.
Snickers is so successful now, it earns the Mars Company $2 billion a year and beats Twix and Milky Way.
And man, do we love our Snickers. And I personally love the little fun size edition. I actually steal those from my kids every Halloween.
Snickers is actually fueling Olympians because they are the sponsor and have been the sponsor of multiple Olympics. So like maybe if I eat a lot of Snickers, I could go to the Olympics. I don't know in what sport. That's the difference between me and the Olympic athletes, is that they are burning thousands of calories every day.
It's just a legendary, classic go-to bar. If your stomach's growling, but a combination bar that is well blended, has a great flavor profile, and like they say, it's gonna satisfy.
I think the greatest candy of all time has got to be the M&M. The marketing is spectacular.
M&M's, one of the great confections of all time. There's a store in Times Square devoted to this one candy. Not to Mars, it's the M&M store.
If I'm going to a deserted island and I could only bring one candy, I would probably bring M&Ms.
And when it comes to legacy, well, this is definitely GOAT-worthy.
It's 1941. Forrest Mars decides that soldiers in World War II need to have some kind of chocolate that's not going to melt in their hands, but is going to melt in their mouth.
So he went and partnered with William Murray over at Hershey, which was a really good idea because he knew that he would be able to use Hershey chocolate in his candy.
So he comes up with this idea to use Hershey's chocolate and put a little sugary coating on it.
Initially, M&Ms were created exclusively for the United States military. And when those soldiers came back home, of course, they still wanted M&Ms.
In 1948, M&Ms get sold to the American public, and they are immediately popular.
But these early versions didn't have the iconic M's on them yet.
M&Ms were such a hit that other candy companies started to copycat them. And this is where it was really brilliant. They decided to imprint a lowercase m on every single piece of candy.
So by stamping that M on there, he differentiated it from anyone who might come out with a copy. And that stamping of the M&M made M&Ms very difficult to compete with, because it became iconic.
Even more legendary than the candy's initials are their personas.
These characters they created, it has to be the envy of not only every candy brand in a way, but so many brands. Who wouldn't want to have the mascots for their brand be worn by people all over the world and collected?
We see them in commercials, and we know the personality of the sassy green M&M or the red M&M, and we see them having these commercials with Santa Claus.
One of the most memorable commercials with good old St. Nick is from Christmas 1997, where the famous slogan, "They do exist," first began.
Fans of M&Ms have a lot of fun with the theorized meanings behind the different colors. For example, fans seem to think that the green M&Ms are aphrodisiacs, which isn't true. But M&Ms has maybe played into this a little bit by making the green M&M kind of flirty.
I think M&M's legacy might be their brilliant marketing and how they have managed to stay relevant.
M&Ms actually made history as the first candy in space on the Space Shuttle Columbia in 1981.
I've always loved them. In space, they become really fun. They're definitely, I think, the most popular candy in space. You can throw them across the spacecraft, take target practice with your crewmate with their mouth open.
I feel like M&Ms are the greatest of all time, hiding in plain sight. They are ubiquitous, but that doesn't make them any less special.
I think M&Ms are one of the few candies that can be your favorite on Earth or in space, and that's why I think they're the greatest of all time.
Before we reveal our #1 treat, let's take a last look at the candies our GOAT beat. Now, some of you might differ on where your own favorite candy should land, but I think we all can agree that our expert's top pick is two great things that go great together. Here we go, gang. The Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Reese's Cups are the #1 selling candy in America, and they top $2 billion in sales.
When you incorporate peanuts into a dessert, into a candy, into pretty much anything, people are going to love it.
The ratio of peanut butter to chocolate in a small Reese's peanut butter cup is incredible.
You remove that wax paper wrapper and you have really perfect, sharp-edged ridges. And when you bite into that edge, you get the saltiness of that peanut butter against the chocolate. There's something with that filling that is really unique.
It's such a perfect, beautiful mix of flavors. Ah, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
I love that Reese's Peanut Butter Cups were made by a hard-working dairy farmer who was also a Hershey's employee. His name was H.B. Reese.
This is a guy had a wife, had a lot of kids. I think he had like 11 kids or something. So he was working to survive, but he had an entrepreneurial spirit.
H.B. Reese, he's working for Mr. Hershey, and he sees this guy's business taking off, and he's like, hey, I want my business to take off. So he decides he's gonna add peanut butter and chocolate together, and he's gonna go off and make his own product.
He's mixing nuts in with things, and he is at one point starting to roast his own peanut butter. He comes up with a peanut butter cup.
A star is born, and H.B. Reese knows he's on to something big.
H.B. Reese kept his company independent. So while he was successful, it wasn't like he was this huge candy titan. You know, he wasn't a Willy Wonka. After he dies, though, his kids get this golden opportunity, and that's when things really took off.
So Hershey buys Reese's. They acquire them in the late 60s. Now, under the ownership of Hershey, they can really get out and start getting nationwide.
Beginning in the early 1970s, Hershey's TV ad campaign begins with one of the most iconic candy ads ever, where the famous slogan, "You got your chocolate and my peanut butter," was born.
Hey! Oh, hey, you got your chocolate and my peanut butter!
Peanut butter and my chocolate.
What?
That's elevating the Reese's brand in ways it had never experienced before.
And sales spike big time and keep growing. And the mini cups are the most popular Halloween candy of all time.
In 1978, Hershey decides to try something else. They're still looking over their shoulder at M&Ms a little bit.
Reese's Pieces were introduced in 1978, and they didn't get much traction until they phoned home. So the makers of E.T. go to M&Ms and say, can we use them in this little film we're gonna make? And M&Ms passed.
Because they didn't want to be associated with aliens.
And Reese's Pieces is like, yeah, sure.
The effect of using Reese's Pieces in E.T. was just huge.
In fact, it was one of the first times in history that branding was absolutely fundamental to the plot of a movie. And sales of Reese's Pieces went up something like 300%. Reese's has done a really good job with innovation in that they change shapes. You have Valentine's, Hertz, you have Reese's Trees.
My favorite Halloween candy are the Reese's pumpkins. There's just something about the cute shape of the pumpkin.
It's actually quite interesting that H.B. Reese actually started by working at Hershey's, and later Hershey's then bought Reese's Candy, and it's now their bestseller.
Peanut butter and chocolate is such a magical mix. Sweet and salty. Those are two of my most perfect addictive things to eat in the confectionery world. Reese's peanut butter cups are right up there.